All right, everyone, welcome back into another live edition of the Patriots Beat podcast here on the CLNS Media Network, presented by our wonderful friends over at Prize Picks and Game Time and PXG. It is Brian Hines back as always with Alex Barth. And Drake Maye's first career start is finished. It's wrapped up, and there was some promise shown there, but unfortunately the Patriots did fall 41-21 to the Houston Texans. And we got to start with Drake Maye. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
20-33, 243 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, also lost a fumble, strip sack. The 243 passing yards and 3 touchdowns were the most in a single game by a Patriots quarterback this year. There was also, we broke some, not records, but like there were some Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi things that haven't happened since those two guys have been under center yesterday. So there were some good things, there was some bad things, the interceptions, the fumbles we'll talk about, but just overall, Alex, how was your initial impression of Drake Maye in his first start yesterday?
Yeah, I thought he was good. I talked about on Thursday, my expectations for him weren't super high. And it was more just about the flashes than the overall performance. I think that's what we got, right? He turned the ball over 3 times, which you got to cut down on that. But in between that, I think you saw some moments of a guy that that certainly has the tools to build around. You saw the arm strength, you saw the mobility. He's going to have to hone it in terms of the accuracy. He was spraying the ball a little bit, especially early. But that's something he did in training camp too, and kind of attributed that to nerves. So I think he'll settle in a little bit. He's never going to be like an 80% completion guy, but yeah, I think for the most part, that's encouraging. You more or less got the performance you wanted to see, you hope to see. And now it's about moving forward from here, improving that accuracy and limiting the turnovers for what he can do this year. I mean, some of it's just going to come with fixing the offensive line in the offseason. But yeah, I thought he had a really good first showing.
Yeah, definitely. He had some misses, which he even said he was a little amped up early in the game. Maybe that had to do with, the second series was the interception where he kind of sailed it to Pop Douglas over the middle of the field there. But also was something he did at times at UNC. If you watch him, like he'll spray some short passes there. So maybe that had something to do with nerves, early game jitters, first start jitters. But there were other instances kind of throughout the day, especially targeting Pop over the middle there, where he seemed wide, he seemed high behind. So hopefully you correct that a little bit. The second interception, that was just like a 1 in a million. What are you going to do about that? It gets
You got to tip your cap there.
Yeah, it gets deflected like 45 degrees forward, and then the guy like mosses Austin Hooper, who's blocking in the process. So like, tip your cap to there. As you said, nothing you can really do about that. But and then the strip sack fumble, where maybe he could have got the ball out a little quicker, held it a little too long there, and with Demontre Jacobs one-on-one there on the right side. So some things to improve, but again, it was his first start as a rookie in the NFL, and going into it, we said there's going to be bumps and bruises along the way. You look at all the other rookie quarterbacks that have started this year, it wasn't perfect, especially in those first 1 or 2 games for those guys. No one else even threw a touchdown pass in their first 2 starts. I think everyone went, and Drake threw 3 there in his first start. So just getting
waiting helped him.
You going with that route? You think the waiting played a part in that?
Well, 3 guys didn't wait. None of them threw a touchdown. 2 guys did wait. They both threw touchdowns.
Who was the other guy who waited?
Rattler.
Not the Rattler. True. How did he play yesterday? I didn't see his stat. I saw 2 touchdowns, I think.
Yeah, he played relatively well. I think he actually had a similar stat line to Maye. Now, he obviously has more talent around him than Maye does, so that changes things. But they got their doors blown off. It was kind of the same thing. They got the doors blown off, but he showed you a little bit of something. 22 of 40, 243 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. So not that similar to Maye, but
yeah, it's not bad. But back to the Pats guy, Maye. The positives. We wanted to see flashes. Did you see the flashes that you kind of hoped you would see and maybe expected to see? And, what were some of the positives you saw from Drake?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the arm talent first and foremost, right? Not just the throw to Kayshon Boutte, which I mean, obviously it's a great throw, but I thought the best throw was the touchdown throw to Jalen Polk, to Pop Douglas,
Pop.
because that's a throw he missed earlier in the game. That's a throw Jacoby Brissett missed multiple times on film over the last few weeks, and he's able to step back in, correct it, tight window, in stride to a guy that he's going to need to be able to work with to maximize what he's doing here in New England. That's one of those things, like that's what it's supposed to look like. That's what you want it to look like. A couple other throws, made a few throws on the run or facing pressure, showed off his raw arm strength, and then his legs. He was the leading rusher, and we can talk about why the rushing game really sucked yesterday, and that definitely didn't help him. 5 of 38, right? All on scrambles. Would like to see moving forward now to get some design quarterback runs, or at least like read options and things like that in there. But I think you saw the raw tools, obviously, that were on display leading up to the draft, and then he didn't look out of place mentally. I mean, It wasn't the most cleanly quarterback game ever. Again, there's definitely room to be better, but I don't think at any point, maybe a little bit on those first 2 drives, he looked overwhelmed a little bit. After that, though, and I mean, like, first start, okay, fine. He even talked about it again, kind of nerves, the adrenaline, the anxiety. Got through that first quarter. I think the pick actually helped him, because it was like, all right, it's not going to be perfect. And from there, I thought he settled in, and he definitely looked in place.
Yep. And I think that's one of the biggest things you always hear with players, like, forever. Once when a first round pick or a rookie gets in the building, like, they can tell immediately if this guy's got it or not. And for everything that the Patriots players have said, really throughout the summer, and then again yesterday, like, you hear all of them saying how confident he is in the huddle. Kendrick Bourne's, saying how much aura he has, which is huge for a quarterback, right? Like, all of these guys really seem to be behind Drake Maye, and like, they agree that Drake Maye kind of has it as the quarterback, which is a big thing. Obviously, because he's the quarterback, but that those guys can see that and believe in it early. And Gerard Mayo even complimented his toughness, because he did take a good amount of hits, 4 sacks, 4 or 5 quarterback hits as well. So he was under pressure still, and he got right back up. Even some limping off the field a little bit, but he got back up and showed that toughness that he plays with. But yeah, the stuff you mentioned, the plays with his legs, you saw the off script stuff, the one to Henry, the 30-yard one to Henry, which is he gets out to the right. Henry works to find some space. It was only like a 10, 11-yard air pass, but when you have those off script plays, then it creates a 30-yard explosive gain. And then the leading rusher, even without any of those zone reads, as you said, I thought once they got down, it was the touchdown to Henry. I was ready to say they're going to break out a zone read there, kind of like the preseason, but they didn't. So I would like to see some of that moving forward, capitalize on some of that. But yeah, the off script, the plays with his legs, the arm talent down the field to Boutte, over the middle of the field to Pop, even though he was, missing some, and then he comes back and hits the touchdown. So I think it was just kind of the full Drake Maye experience from what you saw in college, and it carried over. And now, all right, like, let's, as Mayo said again, like, let's keep building on this as he gets more comfortable, and hopefully the offensive line settles down. We keep saying that, who knows at this point, but kind of the Drake Maye experience again. And now hopefully this is kind of the baseline you can keep building off of.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, that's the Drake Maye experience. I don't know that I was surprised by a ton yesterday, at least from Drake Maye. Like, 3 touchdowns is great, but in terms of the, what you see on the film, it's more or less you expected from him going in.
We said they didn't really run him like designed.
Yeah.
We saw a few more like RPOs, felt like there was more action over the middle of the field, which is where he was comfortable throwing. Did you like or notice anything specific that Alex Van Pelt did to kind of tailor this offense to Drake Maye? That's something we talked about a lot the last week once he got named the starter. So anything stick out to you particular that Alex Van Pelt did well in this one to help Drake?
Yeah, definitely used the middle of the field. We didn't see pistol. That's what I was waiting for. We didn't see pistol. More shotgun though. And he looked comfortable under center for whatever that's worth. So it honestly didn't feel like it. I mean, things changed schematically. I thought he had a good plan, but I thought it was more just the distribution, right? Calling certain things more than others rather than inserting a ton of new stuff or taking things out. Like, it felt similar to the offense that they ran with Brissett, but again, more shotgun, some more rollout stuff. a little more. I think they ran more 11, right, than they did with Brissett. But I didn't notice anything like super new within that.
Yeah. I didn't have the 11 or 12. I felt like they were in 12 a good amount. Maybe that's just because I kept noticing every time they took Pop Douglas off the field to put Austin Hooper on the field, especially when they're, like, down 20 points, which I didn't love, but, um, I'd have to
I
find
mean,
the
it felt like they managed the second half of that game like a preseason game.
Yeah.
That really felt like we just want the kid to run through certain concepts regardless of game situation, which I'm not saying is the worst thing in the world to do. It's annoying. And I think that has to end now. It's his first game. Fine. Like, training wheels have to come off now. You can't be doing that all season. But it did feel like they just kind of wanted to get him certain looks. And I also think just with not having Rhamondre Stevenson limited them a little bit too.
Yeah, because the run game was not good. Gibson went 13 carries, 19 yards, 1.5 average. And then, yeah, as you said, Drake was the leading rusher with 38 yards. So they didn't have a run game to rely on. Part of that had to do with the offensive line. But yeah, it was kind of a weird second half management wise. Even that last drive, it's like they're going for it. It was kind of like the Jets game that Drake got in at the
Yeah.
end. It's like they're going for it, and then they get down and they're like, "Oh, we're actually good. We're just gonna end this game
Well,
and
because
kind of
again,
go."
I like the last thing you want, you call a timeout there. Now the Texans are pissed off
And
because
he
you're
gets
just
hurt,
stat
he gets
padding
sacked.
and somebody takes which with Zach Thomas in there at that point and the line that had in there at that point. Like, I wouldn't rule out somebody getting a clean shot at Drake Maye. It's just not worth it. I wanted him to throw the fourth touchdown. He would have been the fifth quarterback in NFL history to throw 4 touchdowns his debut. Wasn't worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, you want him healthy. That's the biggest thing coming out of that, but, the 2-minute drill too, we didn't mention that really, like, the 2-minute drill, or it was really a 1-minute drill at
Yeah.
the end of the first half. It felt like we were headed right back to the Seattle or the Miami game where they
Yeah.
run and then they go to pass, but, he had an
I
awesome that
said it.
yeah, I think we were all thinking it in the press
Yeah.
box, and then he kinda saved them with the first pass on second down. Like, he starts to his left. It was a great, like, full field read. He starts to his left, and then he works all the way to the right, and it looks like he's about to get pressured, and he just kinda flicks it from the far hash all the way out to Pop Douglas, and he gives him a yak opportunity. It's 20 yards, and then 4 plays later, you have the touchdown to Kayshon Boutte. So that was like the poise there. That's something going back to the summer that he was struggling with. That's something we talked a lot about in training camp. It was like the last thing that Jacoby was doing that Drake wasn't doing. And then Jacoby get to the regular season, he was having issues, and see Drake go right in there and, the poise, the arm talent, and to kind of get them out of that situation and get points on the board. And we were all pumped up at halftime. It's 14-7, felt like they were down 30, but they're within a score. They're getting the ball back. It felt like they were right in that game. And then, it was a disaster to open the second half. But that 2-minute drill there at the end of the first half, or again, 1-minute drill, was really impressive, I thought.
Yeah, and Drake May bailed him out because I'm sitting there going, they're really going to do this again. Like,
Yeah.
8-yard run on first down. I see him drop, like, they run the clock down. 8-yard run on first down. They run the clock down. I see him drop back to throw. I'm like, oh my God, they really
Here
haven't
we
learned
go.
their lesson. But Drake May completes the pay. It was the same out route that they threw last week. I think last week they threw it to Boutte. This was to Pop, but he hits it. He hits it. Okay. And then you get going, and now they're at 16 seconds. It's like, can he get them in field goal range? Field goal range, bombs away. That's where the quarterback changes the arithmetic of how you're calling the game. But
Yeah.
Alex Van Pelt almost made the same mistake again. He just has a better quarterback this time.
It would have been interesting if he wasn't complete on second down, if they would have ran it.
No, they would have thrown again. We know what Alex Van Pelt wants to do in that situation. He's done it twice now. Like, I don't think they think it's a mistake. He would have thrown it again.
Yeah. He did. He did say, like, that haunted him a little bit, but he also said if they just executed the play, which, going back to the Miami end of the half situation, there was a guy open. It just, they can't execute the play. And then that's going back to knowing your team. Like, should you be calling that play in the first place? So that's what he seems to want to do. But if you agree with it or not, but Drake executed it. So we're not having that conversation, even though we are having that conversation. But
well, this goes back to what we talked about with the Marvin Harrison, Joe Alt, right? Drafting a quarterback just covers up so many holes. It covers up a lot, and unlike any other position on the field. And that's a perfect example of that.
Especially a quarterback with those physical tools. And is JJ McCarthy making that throw on second down, Alex?
No.
No, exactly. So, yeah, getting a guy like that with that physical skill set was pretty impressive. So, encouraging start for Drake Maye there. Again, expected rookie moments. Would you like to take a victory lap or say anything that he outperformed Josh Allen against the Texans a week after, or are we not there yet?
You said it.
Okay, we'll leave it at that then. So, that's the Drake Maye rundown. Again, encouraging start, but we'll see him keep going. Hopefully, build off that now. So, before we move on to the rest of the offense, I got to tell you guys about Prize Picks, America's top fantasy sports platform with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. You can make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Barth and I submit our Patriots lineups every game day, and you can join in or extend it to the rest of the league. AFC East battle tonight, Jets Bills. If you want to put some Josh Allen less in your lineup, probably like what Barth is going to do, you can do
Not when
that.
it comes to turnovers.
True, more. Although we did do more than half an interception on Drake Maye, and that worked out for us. But more half an interception on Josh Allen tonight. Definitely put that one in. On Prize Picks, which is also the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. So download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup on Prize Picks. Run your game. All right. Rest of the offense, we talked a lot too since Drake got the starting job, how he can elevate some of these receivers and some of these pass catchers along with him. You saw Pop Douglas and Kayshon Boutte set career highs in receiving yards, single game receiving yards. Both got into the end zone for the first time. So they were kind of up. Hunter Henry got his first touchdown of the season. And then you saw some guys kind of fall back. We can talk about Jalen Polk, but let's start with the positives. We saw Pop, Boutte, 2 guys who Gerard Mayo said when he watches the film are 2 of their better receivers. He also included Kendrick Bourne in there as their top 3. So what'd you like from those guys with Drake in there as they're starting to build that chemistry?
Well, it looked like there's chemistry, and you're watching Tank Dell chew up the Patriots throughout the first half. It's like, man, if only the Patriots had a guy like that. And then they kind of remembered they did. And you see how important it is for Pop Douglas to have a role in this offense and how important it is for him to be featured, because even with Maye in there, there's only so much time to really throw the ball down the field because of the line. You need guys that can create after the catch. And Pop Douglas did a tremendous job of that yesterday. He got open. He got separation. He was good with the ball in his hands, all of that. So I thought he was awesome. Kayshon Boutte, I mean, good catch, good route. Had another third down conversion later in the game that was good. The biggest thing for him with me, I still think I guess, we talked a lot about with him over the summer about consistency, right? We know kind of where his ceiling is from what we saw at LSU, but he's been pretty far from that for his entire NFL career, because he'll have, going back to camp, because we saw mostly camp, he'll have 1 big day in practice. We won't see him for a week. Now it feels like he's had 4 to 5 games where he's been consistent, and he hasn't been amazing, but he's been solid. He's helped the offense. You figure that's going on at practice too if they keep playing him. So he's starting to be consistent, which is good. I'd like to see them expand his route tree a little bit. I feel like it's just kind of goes and curls for him at this point. Maybe some outs in there. Don't see him running a ton over the middle where he can be effective. And we know Drake Maye can be effective throwing the ball. So I still think there's some untapped potential there, but I'm also not entirely convinced that what we're seeing is sustainable, because again, we've seen this guy just kind of fall off. But it was a good game for him. Another good game for him. Definitely deserves credit for that. But my big takeaway was Drake Maye and Pop Douglas are on the same page. And that's as big a development as anything from yesterday.
Yeah. And I feel like we all kind of saw it coming. To me, it was like once he compared him to Josh Downs in the training camp, I'm like, okay, here we go. So Houston really just kept trying to cover Pop Douglas man to man. And that's really the one guy you feel confident about on New England's side that's going to win against man coverage. And, it was just all those crossers. And Drake even said it, he was on the radio an hour today. I felt like I left a lot of yards out there because he sailed the one earlier. He missed them wide on another. One of the ones he did catch was high and behind them, and Pop might have even scored on that one. If you were watching like the broadcast, you even saw like Drake be like, damn it, like put his hands on his helmet. So, and then but he bounced back. He got the one and the touchdown. So that was really encouraging. And then, yeah, Boutte I agree with everything you said, but I think it's at least encouraging that they're playing him and he's out there. Like, I'd rather see him than KJ Osborne right
Right.
now. Like, he's a younger guy. You mentioned the ceiling. Like 2 years ago, this is a guy who might have went first round in the NFL draft before he kind of had a bad junior season and some stuff off the field. So the ceiling's there, and I'd rather them at least play him and work through some of the issues if there's going to be issues, and get rewarded for stuff like that big touchdown there over a guy like KJ Osborne, which wasn't what they would do last year with Kayshon Boutte, right? They put Devontae Parker and Juju Smith-Schuster on the field, and we want to see some of the young guys. So I like the plan. I think that's a good plan for them. And again, I think encouraging that they look good with Drake in there. But on the other side of things, rough game for Jalen Polk. 1 catch, 4 yards, I believe on 4 targets. Yes, 4 targets. 2 drops, 1 on 3rd down, 2 kind of been an issue with him in all season, and that was one of his strengths at college, right? Like, he's not a burner. He's been getting open, but the hands were one of his calling cards, and the hands haven't been reliable here. And Gerard Mayo, he didn't really call him out because he was asked about him, but he said he's got to get over the mental hump. He's got to catch the football. He even mentioned some of the details he's got to sharpen up on. So are you where are you just kind of at with Jalen Polk right now after one of his worst games with May in there?
I mean, look, 2 drops are 2 drops, one of them on a 3rd down. The question is where May's at with him, right? Is he in the
Yeah.
circle of trust? Did this kind of hurt things? He's still getting open. So I'm not going to write the entire guy off from one game. Like, and they shouldn't either. But that's something to watch now. Like, if he comes out next week and drops a pass, now it's a pattern. And getting open doesn't matter if you can't catch the football. So he's somebody now that, you don't want the attention on you in that sense. And now that attention's on him from the coaching staff, I'm sure, where it's all right. If he's not catching the ball, we can't put him on the field.
Yep. I do wonder if the Kayshon Boutte emergence, and I do want to say I'm not worried about Jalen Polk, right? Like, he's 6 games into his rookie year. I still think he's a good player, but he's been playing the X a good amount, and that's been kind of out of necessity, and that's really not his game. So I wonder if now that Boutte is a little more trustworthy and playing well out there at the X, like if you can get Polk split in time with Kendrick Bourne at the Z, if that kind of frees his mind a little bit, and then maybe he looks more like the player we saw at Washington and even kind of throughout the summer more often, but that would be helpful. So, but good chemistry with Pop, Kayshon Boutte, and then we'll see with Polk. Definitely not out on Jalen Polk again. I want to make that clear, but rough game for him on Sunday. But let's do it. Let's talk about the offensive line. We thought we were going to have some continuity. We did
Nope.
not, because a last second center change, or really not kind of last second, looked like it might have been trending that way on Friday's practice. But Ben Brown, who was signed on Thursday, he flew in on a red eye from Vegas on Wednesday night, signed on Thursday, practiced Thursday, Friday, started at center. He said he found out Sunday morning, so seems like kind of a game time decision with Nick Leverett, who has now been released by the team after not playing at all yesterday. So wild scene there at center. Gerard Mayo said he's never seen anything like it. He even said before the game, like, we'll see how it goes. It should be
Yeah.
interesting, which is not what you want to hear
No.
from the head coach before the game. But credit to Ben Brown. I thought he played well. He was the only lineman on PFF who was starting lineman who wasn't credited with the pressure and put in a tough spot. So credit to him, but crazy scene at the center spot there yesterday.
Yeah, and look, I don't love it. Like, big picture, they've known they need a center for a while now. And to not have, like, Nick Leverett had been hurt. All right, you have Brian Hudson on the practice squad. You don't trust him. Or maybe you do, but like, get him on the active roster. I get something came up late with Joe Cardona. They probably figured they're going to elevate Brian Hudson. You need another layer of protection there in an important position. And it goes back to something I've hammered all year. They did not do enough to address the offensive line. And I don't know, not even in the offseason. I mean, through camp, through the start of the year. I get it. Guys have gotten hurt, and that's unfortunate. Guys have gotten hurt, and they haven't replaced them. Like, they've had roster spots, they've had opportunities, and they're just not doing it. We heard Rhamondre Maye was asked a couple weeks ago about bringing in a veteran tackle. They're not doing it, right? David Andrews gets hurt. Nick Leverett gets hurt. The only center they sign ahead of time is a rookie who's on the practice squad. And then the Thursday before a game, they bring this kid in. They got very lucky they worked. And a ton of credit to Ben Brown. For everything Drake Maye did yesterday, Ben Brown was the most impressive player on that field for the Patriots in that game. To turn that around on 2 days in an offense, well, remember, the checks run through the center. They don't run through the quarterback. This guy's traffic copping the entire offense, and he's probably introducing himself to some of the guys in the huddle while he's doing it. So, deserves a ton of credit for that. Scott Peters deserves a lot of credit because week in and week out, he's getting guys off the street. And again, it wasn't good. Drake Maye was limping partway through the game. Trey Jacobs is starting to kind of show his inexperience. He got beat clean at least twice. Once led to Drake Maye limping. The other led to a strip sack. But how many times we kind of walked away from it? Like, that wasn't good, but it could have been a lot worse. And like, it was better than I thought. So Scott Peters deserves credit there. It'll be nice to see what he can put together when he has like 5 NFL caliber players all playing together multiple weeks in a row.
Hopefully he gets there at some point.
Right. He's playing on Heisman difficulty right now. Right.
Yeah.
So again, it goes back to my point where like, they're just the lack of not even starter caliber talent. This isn't well, they should have gotten a real left tackle. That's not what this is. This is me saying your starting center captain got hurt. It shouldn't take you until 2 days before the game to sign somebody with NFL experience. And by the way, Ben Brown, no NFL experience at center. If we had talked more about that signing, I probably would have sounded like an idiot because I would have ripped it. Again, good for Ben Brown, but like, your starting center gets hurt. There are guys available, whether it be on other practice squads or free agents, who have played center in the NFL. That's not that high of a bar. And now we'll see what happens. They have one healthy tackle on the roster, Brian. One healthy true tackle in Marte Jacobs. Vidarian Lowe got hurt. Mike Onwenu, who's a guard at this point, needs to stay there. Zach Thomas, I know he played left tackle in that game, but he's a guard. They have to sign a real left tackle if Vidarian Lowe is going to miss time. They can't put Zach Thomas out there. I guess if they wanted to try Jalen McKenzie, like at least somebody from the practice squad who's been here, you can't go into a game with the tackles on your active roster being Zach Thomas, Demontre Jacobs, end of list. Like, you just can't do that. So it's another test for them where somebody got hurt. Are they actually going to sign somebody and address it? Now, for this week, well, apparently Scott Peters is great at getting guys caught up. So maybe they could start somebody this week. But like for this week, I might feel better about Jalen McKenzie than about Zach Thomas, or even Caleb Jones than Zach Thomas, because those guys at least have the length to compete. But yeah, when it comes to the offensive line, it's just more signs that, again, this isn't, well, they could have gotten, what about Jonah Williams? This isn't that. This is, do you have the bodies to fill out the depth chart? Yes or no? And the answer right now is no.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely credit to Ben Brown. We were joking in the press box, like when we saw it out there and Mayo was on 98.5, that's where what just happened?
I think we lost our stream to Twitter.
We're still live here though, I think. Yes.
On YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, we were joking in the press box when Mayo was on 98.5, and that's when the Ben Brown news kind of hit. Like, we're like, how many times will the ball be on the ground? Oh, like over, under, more or less 1.5 snaps on the ground. So credit to him with the checks and everything, getting caught up to speed. And like, even Zach Thomas, like they brought him in here as a guard, and he's been practicing guard, and then he's got to go out there and play left tackle against Will Anderson. And it definitely wasn't perfect, but like these guys are just, you hate to get on Demontre Jacobs and Zach Thomas right now.
No, they should never spots.
they never should be in these spots, and it's an impossible ask for these guys. So, and now with Vidarian Lowe hurt, looked pretty bad. Like, I'm definitely not a doctor, but he got rolled up on pretty bad
Yeah,
on that ankle, like kind of looked like a high ankle sprain or something along those lines. So you might be without him for an extended period of time. So I don't even know what happens now. If there's a veteran, the tricky part with the veterans is like they have to want to sign here too. I don't know
right.
if how many of those guys are going to want to come play here.
Well, Mike Giardi reported a couple weeks ago Charles Leno and Donovan Smith weren't interested.
So it's Bakhtiari, who doesn't look like he's going to play football,
I
and
think he's done. We
yeah.
need to move on from that.
So I mean, they could move, and I think Pat Stats just had it in the chat too. Like they could move Demontre Jacobs back to the left side, try a Caleb Jones, try a Jalen McKenzie off the practice squad. Those are your tackles, but I don't know. They're probably going to have to go claim another tackle or try to find another tackle too. Just you need the bodies at this point, and they just don't have many bodies there either. So I don't know. Do you have an early projection for us on the offensive line? Maybe
I
they might
I mean
like
I'm
kick Mike Onwenu back out just by necessity. I don't love that, but
yeah, I hate that. I'm just scrolling right now, like who's on practice squads around the league, and it's thin pickings.
were you surprised they released Nick Leverett today?
Yes, because
Yeah.
they don't have backup center. Like maybe it's Brian Hudson, but they're not. Especially if you're going to move Michael Onwenu back outside, like they're really not in a point where they should be parting ways. Sorry, this practice squad tracker has sound that's throwing me off. They're not in a position where they can be moving on from veteran linemen.
Yep. Because he could even serve as a depth
I'll give you.
guard
All
for
right,
this.
so hang on. Right, I'm going through practice squads here. Do you remember? Is it Theo? Is it Benedet? Do you remember this guy?
Theo Beneday? Was he here?
Benedet. The Patriots host him for a visit. He was that tackle in the draft from Canada.
Oh, that
Played
kind
for
of
the
sounds
University of
familiar.
British Columbia, 6'7", 305. He's on the Bears practice squad. I mean, no NFL experience, but it's a body.
Where's Zuri Henry?
Uh,
Get Zuri Henry back here.
I don't think he's on a team. Did he ever put the weight on? Luke Haggard was a guy they worked with. I don't know if he's ever played in the NFL, but he is a guy that they worked with at the Senior Bowl. Big kid I think there were two guys, one from Baylor, one from Indiana. He's the one from Indiana. He is on the Bucks practice squad. I don't believe he has set foot on an NFL field during a regular season game, but some familiarity there. I'm literally just scrolling the offensive lineman on practice squad. Antonio Mafi is a guard.
Is he on a practice squad?
But obviously familiar. Chasen Hines. Yeah, he's on the Colts.
Oh, Jason Hines, baby.
Chasen Hines still out there if they need an interior guy. He's still with Miami. This is as of 2 weeks ago, by the way, the list.
We could do the whole, remember?
Maybe double check these, but
remember the start of last year, like camp, City So played right tackle? Could bring that back, baby.
Oh yeah, no. There's a reason that never came back.
It's so it
my
would be
computer's like slowing down from all these names. Remember this is before you. Jatiri Carter was the guy. This was probably 2022. I think Evan was still co-hosting the show. Was a guy we kind of liked in the draft. He has started 2 NFL games at tackle. He is on the Panthers practice squad. I remember I liked him in the draft. Good movement. That's the Patriots practice squad. Has anybody brought up Coy Cronk yet in the chat?
No, not yet. I'm a little disappointed, but
all right, I'm done scrolling. This is too much music.
We say it like every week, but this is perfect.
There's a lot of
this is perfect Connor McDermott territory. If only he wasn't on the Rams right now, but he hasn't played a snap all year. I don't know if he's hurt.
They're the only team that's as banged up as the Patriots.
Yeah, and he hasn't played a snap for them. I was just looked him up, so I don't know what's going on with Connor McDermott, but they could use him. But maybe there's some. I mean, it's Caleb Jones or Jalen McKenzie. That would be what I would, unless they're comfortable with Zach Thomas at left tackle or maybe right tackle and
They
Devontae
shouldn't be.
Jacobs flips over. Yeah, I wouldn't like again, they
Yeah, I'm not
brought him
comfortable with
here
any of that.
as a guard. He's been playing guard since he's got here. Like I imagine what they're looking at if Vidarian Lowe is out is just flipping Devontae Jacobs over and then trying one of those guys on the practice squad at right tackle. So we'll see. But again, credit to Ben Brown, credit where credit's due. One more thing on Leverett. Do you think the release there, are we getting closer to a Cole Strange return? Because that could be, sounds like when he's coming back to play center. So are you buying into Cole Strange maybe coming in at some point and helping this thing?
Eventually, but not anytime soon. Drake Maye said last week he hasn't even been snapping the ball yet, so that tells me he's a few weeks away. One other thing on the line too. This is where I'll take a victory lap. Drake Maye basically confirmed on the radio today.
Oh yeah,
the line was why Drake Maye wasn't playing.
yep.
As I tried to tell you guys, like this was not about, and I understand why they didn't admit it. I completely understand why they wouldn't come out and say that. Could they have maybe covered it up better? Sure, but like he's not going to come out and say Elliott Wolf didn't build a good enough offensive line. Like that's just not good for anybody for him to do that. But
or throw his own lineman under the bus,
or throw his own lineman under the bus. That's another good point. But again, it's a matter of it wasn't just about Drake Maye. The line needed to be right because they wanted to take care of the kid. But now you get back to that thing. Do you think they wish they waited a little bit more with what's happening right now with Vidarian Lowe getting hurt again? They can't go back. But yeah, this is something that they're gonna have to deal with now. They have Drake Maye behind the line they don't want him behind.
Yep. I feel like he kind of was starting to let that slip. Remember last week someone asked him, like, did you want the situation to get better at receiver and offensive line? And he was kind of like, yeah, we wanted it to improve, get some continuity before we went to May. And then again today on the radio, he was asked, was the plan based off to play May? Was it based off the offense's performance or the rookies' work behind the scenes? And he said it was more based on seeing what we had up front with the offensive line. And then there was a follow-up that said if he handled the offensive line differently in the offseason, was there a chance Drake Maye could have started week 1? And he said you could keep going back to that, but once again, handling the offensive line, what does that mean if you have rookies out there, which we drafted offensive linemen as well? And you can talk about free agent offensive linemen, which I think someone said a couple weeks ago, but who are those guys? So that was his response to that offensive line question. But yeah, I feel, again, we said it a lot, like, start of the year, you probably didn't want to put Drake behind that offensive line, and now they have, so they can't go back. But yeah, that seemed to be a big selling point there with him getting out on the field. So that's the offensive line. Another week where we'll be on the practice fields with our binoculars, looking back at who the hell is even back there, because who knows who's left at this point. So we'll see. So any last thoughts on the offense there, or we can kind of move this one on?
They missed Rhamondre Stevenson badly in this game.
Yeah.
And not even necessarily his ability to break a big run. Like they obviously didn't do that, but that Antonio Gibson can break big run would kill them. And if the offensive line is going to continue to be a problem, is going to be part of it. Is Rhamondre Stevenson's ability to turn no gain into 4 yards or a negative run into 2 or 3 yards. Like that ability allowed the Patriots stay ahead of schedule on offense this year. And when their offense was working to the extent it was working, it was because Rhamondre Stevenson was getting them hidden yardage. Remember, through 2 weeks, he had more yards after contact than total yards. They lost those yards yesterday. They averaged 2 yards per carry, a tick over 2 yards per carry, 2.095. Rhamondre Stevenson, and after contact, they averaged just over 2. I think it was like 2.1. Rhamondre Stevenson was averaging 4 yards after contact per carry coming into this game. So that's 2 yards every rush you're not getting. And you saw the impact of that on this game. They need Rhamondre Stevenson back in the lineup. It's the only way they're going to maximize this offense. Having Drake run will help with some of that, but they miss him big time yesterday.
Yep. Yeah, and it was disappointing because I thought the Texans were a defense you could kind of run on. They've been getting run on the last few weeks, but nothing was working on the ground game outside of Drake, and most of those were scrambles, not designed runs. So You would have liked a more consistent run game to kind of help your quarterback out there in his first career start, but unfortunately they weren't able to get that done with Gibson and Terrell Jennings mixed in a little bit at the end, but it was primarily Gibson there with 13 carries. So they missed Rhamondre. I don't think that's going to be something serious. Mayo even said, I think last week, like it's not something major because he came back to play once it happened, but that was some adrenaline you would think because he
Well,
missed
that
this
was
week.
also,
So
he said he took a helmet to the shin and he was listed with a foot injury. So
that's true. Maybe it was something different or whatever. We'll see. But
right.
they need Rhamondre back and hopefully soon. But that's your offense. Let's switch over to the defense. But before we do that, it is football season is in full force, but the sports world is busy elsewhere as well. Hockey has started. The NBA is starting soon, and you can get tickets to see any of the Boston teams or any other teams you guys want to go see on Game Time. And Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes it even easier to get tickets to see your favorite teams play because they filter out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The Patriots are in London this week, so if anyone's over there, you can get your tickets on Game Time, but they'll be back at Gillette next week to host Aaron Rodgers in the New York Jets. You can go on Game Time, and then if you're up in Boston and you want to go to the Garden, Bruins are back. Unfortunately, they're not keep playing the Florida Panthers, who have so much real estate in their head, and it's crazy. And the Celtics are starting soon. And if you want to go to Knicks at Celtics next Tuesday, 8 days away, they are raising the banner. You can get in on Game Time. Cheapest ticket right now. Let's see, we got about $267, but you get to see Banner 18 go up in the rafters. Don't want to miss that. So head to Game Time for their lowest price guaranteed, seat views, all in pricing, and of course, Game Time Picks, which makes it even easier to save more on your sports tickets, as well as concerts, comedy, theater, and any other tickets you are trying to buy. So take the guesswork out of buying all your tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. All right. Patriots defense gave up 41 points, 192 rushing yards. CJ Stroud went 20 of 31, 192 yards, 3 touchdowns, also threw an interception. 41 points. Devon Gottschalk kind of said it best after the game. That's embarrassing. That's not their standard. The run defense continued not to be very good. They did get put in some bad situations, right? Like the offense turned the ball over 4 times. They had a bunch of drives start in their own territory, but another game that wasn't great from the defensive side of the ball. So where are you kind of at with the Patriots defense right now after another not so great game?
I got one bright spot I'll give you in a bit, but outside of that, it's just bad. It's bad. Gerard Mayo said after the game, like the fundamentals aren't there. It's one thing, like I get it. They've lost a lot of talent, and you lose guys like Juwan Bentley, Matthew Judon, Christian Barmore, Jabril Peppers. You're going to take a step back without those sorts of players. But this is, I mean, the kind of mistakes they're making. Gerard Mayo mentioned the run fits today, the inability to tackle, the lack of effort tackling. This is not. If you're in the NFL, you should be able to do these things at a baseline level, and they're not doing them right now.
The 54 and was it 52 or 50?
Yeah.
Those runs should not have happened. That was exactly like you just said. Poor run fits, and it's the same kind of repeat error guys. Raekwon McQuillan coming in from the second level. Poor tackling, like Jacqueline Roy at the first level. Like run fits and tackling, as you said and Mayo said, those are the two big things. But keep going.
So here's my one bright spot is Marte Mapu, who's played 2 very good games since coming back. And part of what I really like is he's playing very physically, which you don't always see from players when they come back from missing time due to an injury. But he's playing physically in the run, against the pass. He created that play for the Marcus Jones interception yesterday. I think when you have a guy like Juwan Bentley, you have a guy like Jabril Peppers, like those guys are tone setters. You're not going to come out and play soft next to that guy. And what this Patriots defense really needs right now is a tone setter. They need a guy that's going to raise the level of intensity for everybody else on that unit because they're just not playing intense football right now. Mapu's playing that that kind of football. It's just a matter of him and the coaches putting him in a position, empowering him to be a leader in him getting guys to want to follow him, because he's the only guy that's setting the tone you want to see on that defense right now. I don't know if there's another guy you point at, you say, well, everybody else just needs to play more like him and they'll fix things. It's pretty much Marte Mapu right now, at the end of the list. They usually, I mean, everybody's playing intense, but you can tell that there's usually 2, 3, 4 guys that are like leading the way, right? And again, setting that tone. Is there another tone setter right now on the defense besides Marte Mapu? I don't think there is. And then I'll let you respond to that, and then we can get to the other thing with the defense.
Yeah, well, I mean, tone setters. It is unfortunate because all the guys who have been hurt kind of were their loud vocal tone setters, right? Like you think Peppers, not hurt, but not here. Bentley, Barmore, those type of guys. So good to see Mapu. What did you think of his? I didn't get a chance to really go back and watch. He made some splash plays, like awesome pass breakup to lead to the Marcus Jones interception. He had the sack later in the game. What did you think of his? I don't know if you even got to go back and watch it or just had takes live, but his run defense, like it still feels like there's times where he's out of place at the second level, or he tries to like shoot a gap and it opens up something else. So I don't know. Did you have any thoughts on that or see anything with his run defense?
I just think he has limitations based on his size.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to be an elite run defender, but
he's not Bentley who's going to blow guys up. And
it's kind of sad we're at this point, but I don't see him taking plays off. Like, he's playing with that effort. He's playing with that energy. If he's not in position, I think it's just because there haven't been too many times I've seen him go to the wrong spot. I've seen him try to go to the right spot, and, you have a 330-pound guard who he just can't get through. And that, I mean, at the end of the day, it's the same result, right? The play is made, but do you get what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I still, it hasn't been great, but if Marte Mapu against the run was their biggest issue, they'd be playing pretty well defensively right now.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Much more issues. And again, it's like these same guys making mistakes. And I don't know if you had any thoughts, Devon Godshaw again had some pretty truthful comments, talked about playing with pride and guys who aren't doing it. And again, said it was embarrassing that they're giving up that many points, and guys got to kind of lock in. And I'm blanking on the exact quote he said now. Take accountability. That was kind of his message. And it's these same guys, and I keep going back to Raekwon McMillan, who's just hasn't played well on the second level. Taki did come back. It was limited, as you kind of expect. 16 snaps. I wonder if they start using Christian Ellis in that role a little bit more. Is that kind of more athletic linebacker, but he can play a little bit more downhill. So that's what I would like to see. But did you have any thoughts on Godshaw's comments or just anything else from there?
He's not wrong. I'm with you. More Christian Ellis, more Taki. I wonder if they're easing him in. We know they talked about easing Kendrick Bourne back in, or Kendrick Bourne talked about how he was being eased back in. So I wonder if it's the same, but more of him. Yeah, more of Christian Ellis potentially. Anything to get Jelani Tavai back to the edge and away from off-ball linebacker, I think that would help too. But yeah.
Yep. Secondary, I mean, Stephon Diggs,
man.
That was the matchup you were looking at. What did you think about that one?
So the initial charting had him on Gonzalez, 10 routes, 5 targets, 4 catches, 39 yards, and a touchdown. That's probably the best game a receiver's ever had on Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Now there's a low bar there because he's been very good, and that's not a debilitating game that Diggs had, but they just can't cover this guy. They can't cover him. And luckily they only have to play him once a year now, not twice. And he's 30. He's not going to be around much longer, but I mean, he owns a portion of Gillette Stadium, like especially here for what he just shows up. I don't know if it's the lighthouse or whatever. He just shows up and balls here. He's uncoverable here.
The lighthouse. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was like 435 yards. So he maybe could have played Gonzalez could have played the touchdown a little bit better. Yeah. But like, if that's your worst game, you take that. But
you take that. But again, Diggs is the most underappreciated player in the NFL.
Yep. I do want to give credit. Just speaking, we talked about Devon Godshaw there a little bit earlier. Like, he's still the rock in the middle. He's the one thing kind of keeping
Yeah.
that run defense afloat right now. If they lose him, they are in trouble there because they're just going to lose guys at every level. So he's played really well. Career or season high 6 run stops. He's second in the league in run stops this year. So credit to him. Anything else you kind of have defensively? Felt like they played a little bit more man to man. They went back to some of their simulated pressures, that kind of stuff they were running, but just anything else defensively?
No, I mean, I think in coverage, you also just had, again, Diggs was really good. Tank Dell was really good. CJ Stroud was good. Like, it'll be interesting to see what they look like next week. Like, that's just a really good Houston offense too that you got to contend with.
Yep. All right, we'll wrap up with special teams. Solid bounce back day for special teams, I would say. No glaring mistakes. The one thing that I
Well,
kind of noted,
they had a penalty on the opening kickoff, but
that's very true. Talkie, first play
yeah,
back. And again, penalties as a whole, way too many. I don't think we
yeah,
discussed that at all, but just still way too many penalties.
I don't want to hear it about the refs. Like, a lot of those were fair calls.
Yeah.
The
Not a
one
great
that
ref. I
seemed
will
to,
say not a great ref crew, but
well,
not
here's the thing. You're going to throw, and they actually came in under their average. They were throwing 21 flags per game before that. They threw 14 because they basically threw none in the second half. You're going to throw the flags, throw the flags. One, say the correct number of the player. The PI that Marte Mapu got called on early on, right? I
Yeah.
think that was on Marcus Jones, and they said the wrong number. I think they said 15 instead of 25 because everybody was like, again, Mapu wasn't even covering the guy who was targeted. I think they said the wrong number. The other thing, all right, so you're going to throw, they threw 15, 17 flags. Fine. Does each one need to come with a 3-minute conference? We see other crews do this. Throw the flag. He starts reading it off before the camera gets down. And throw the flag. False start. Offense. 58. 5 yards. First down. Like, you don't need to have a freaking conference about every single flag, especially the clear ones. It just kills it as a watchable product. I'm saying it. And they have those, they're supposed to have those headsets where they can talk to each other without getting together, like soccer refs have. Use them. Stop driving the game to a halt every time you throw a flag. I'm sorry, this just bugged the crap out of me. Anyway.
No, it's fair. Like, you don't have to huddle up. You don't have to have a team meeting every time you throw a flag.
Right? Not every crew does that. Like, am I nuts? I don't remember. Occasionally, yes.
I feel like more and more crews are doing it, which is as you have just made it clear, like, very annoying, and they shouldn't be doing that. But it was Torbert, is that his name? Torbert,
yeah, Ron Torbert.
Torbert. Like, I think it was Nate Tice of Yahoo who was saying, like, that's been a common theme of his crew all year, and it's extremely annoying, as everyone saw.
Like, look, it's one thing if there's like multiple flags or one guy maybe didn't have the angle and you got to get together. False start, offsides, obvious face masks when you call them. Like, we all saw it. Read it out, move on.
Yep. The worst one, the missed face mask on Gibson. That one,
atrocious.
That was atrocious. Like, you're watching the end zone angle. It's like both guys, hands on the hips, looking right at it, and I'm like, his head is behind him. Like, how do you miss that? I don't know. But that rant started on special teams, penalty on the first play of the game. Solid. It wasn't the roller coaster as last week. The one thing I'll say on special teams, Houston made the Patriots return 6 kicks, and Jermichael Hasty averaged just 23 yards per return. It wasn't anything fantastic. I would love to see Isaiah Bolden get a shot back there. Like, they have Hasty and Jalen Polk. They usually have Antonio Gibson over Polk, but without Rhamondre Stevenson, they didn't want their starting running back returning kicks. So, but Hasty and Polk, it's not the speediest combo at all. So I know Isaiah Bolden was limited throughout the week with a hamstring injury, so maybe that had something to do with it. But if you're going to return kicks, or teams are going to make you return kicks, I'd much rather give him a shot with the ball in his hands. We know what he did at that role in college at Jacksonville State. So I would like that, but I didn't think, for them making Hasty return all those, I didn't think he was that great yesterday.
Yeah. Where's Marcus Jones, right? Let's see what Marcus Jones can handle that.
Yeah, because he get the ball in his hands. He had a couple nice one long punt return, and then you see the pick, what he can do. with the ball in his hands there. So that would be my special teams advice there. But let's see. Any last thoughts?
I think
Anything
that
else
pretty
to
much
kind of
covers
wrap
it.
up? All right. Well, one more thing before we go. I know it's kind of getting chilly out. How's the weather this weekend? Is it golf weather? Is golf weather?
Brian, it's
Oh,
always golf weather. It's actually beautiful
Saturday.
golf weather. I just looked.
Sat-
Wow.
Saturday, sunny and 70 degrees. Even Sunday, if you want to, Patriots are bright and early, so you could go play in the afternoon, 71 degrees. And if you're going to play, we're always looking to improve our golf gear, our golf swing, and hit the ball straighter, farther, not having to worry about hitting everything perfecto. But PXG Clubs makes all your shots a good shot. So I'm heading over, or I already headed over to PXG for my fitting. I went to the Framingham location. Barth did as well. I worked with
Yep.
my guy Brian. You worked with Brendan, I believe
Brandon.
is name.
Yep.
Brandon. Awesome time. Again, we went to Framingham. You go in, you work through all their irons. They have plenty of simulators. You get to hit a bunch of balls. You get the full TrackMan data, working at speed, distance. I put 20 miles an hour ball speed, 40 yards of distance on my shot. So that was awesome. Did you get the Black Ops irons or the Gen 7 irons? Do you
Black
remember?
Ops.
Black Ops irons.
Yep.
So how was your fitting experience?
It was great. It's super cool. It's like they have you hit your old club and then, just little tweaks, and you see in real time on the track, man, like the ball's going further, it's going straighter. That was the big thing for me. Like I couldn't control my irons, and it's night and day now. Just the ability to keep the ball in play.
Going right down the middle now.
Oh yeah.
Right down the fairway. So upgrade your bag with PXG clubs and take your game to a whole new level. For a limited time, you can save $10 per club. So head over to pxg.com and use code CLNS. That's pxg.com and use code CLNS to save $10 per club on your order. pxg.com, code CLNS. Again, you can go to the PXG store in Framingham to get fitted. We both got the Black Ops 7 irons, hitting them absolutely pure, straight, far. It's made our golf game so much better. And maybe we get some golf this weekend in with that weather. It's looking very nice. So golf season is not over yet. So make sure you go to PXG and use code CLNS one more time. So I believe that'll do it. Drake Maye, first start in the books. Again, some encouraging stuff, some rookie mistakes as expected, but you'll take that for his first career start. And now they turn the page to the 1-5 Jacksonville Jaguars, who are already out there in London. Patriots will be traveling to London Thursday night. I believe we'll be back on Thursday, normal time, 5, 6, but to preview that one, but we will let you guys know. So make sure you're locked onto Patriots Press Pass on YouTube. Turn on your notifications so you do know when we go live. You can also follow Barth on Twitter at RealAlexBarth and head over to 985thesportshub.com to read his Patriots coverage. And you can follow me on Twitter at I am Brian Hines and head over to patspulpit.com to read my coverage over there as well. So thanks everyone for tuning in with us tonight. Hope you had a wonderful first May Day, and we will see you guys later this week.
Bye.